There's a lot more up and coming females, I think, now in this day and age. So they put on generally about 1 to 2 kilos in their menstrual cycle, which if you're a male coach, not all male coaches would be aware of that.
Let's look forward another 10 years. They'll have it down to a T, that it will no longer be a disadvantage or a problem. It will probably be an advantage, because there's good parts of the menstrual cycle, right?
It's absolutely brilliant to fight someone who's never really had any fights, because they are wild. I am a bit of a beast in the PT, I can't lie. I am like
what
a
do you
little
mean by
mini
that,
Hulk.
then?
I am a little mini Hulk. I train insane, so my clients do train the same. And if they can't keep up with it, then they're not suited to me, and I will be honest with that. Obviously, when you first meet someone, you get them doing all the little bits and you build them up to that. But then if it gets to a point and they can't go with how I train them, then I will pass them to someone that will.
It sounds like a good thing, but also for your average Joe that maybe sits in an office all day that just wants to maintain fitness, it might be a bit of a nightmare for you to say, come on, 2 more push-ups.
But I can obviously adapt workouts, that's why I'm a PT, but I train boxing. Boxing's intense training, so for me, you are beasted all the time in boxing, no matter what.
How did you get into coaching in boxing?
It's been just a love of the sport. I actually wanted to be a ring girl, never wanted to actually get in a ring, and then just found my way from there, and now I just love it. It's a part of my life. It's changed me, so
that's cool.
Now I implement it in my PTs, not all the time. I do a bit of a mix. I do strength training, cardio, sometimes a bit of boxing, sometimes core, legs, depending on what the client wants, really. But most of my clients are boxing clients now.
So for boxers that are listening, I always get questions like, oh, what training should I do when I'm not boxing, this and that? Everyone's different, of course, but I always say don't run any more than 5 miles if you're an amateur boxer, because you're going to be in the ring for 6 minutes. What training would you recommend to people that they should implement 100% straight away?
Sparring is what I do. I'd spar one day, run the next, spar one day, run the next. All of the workouts, I used to go to all the different gyms and do the hour sessions. And I used to, before my last fight, they were beneficial, obviously, for fitness side of it, but now I tend not to do it. I do like a tech session for an hour, and then the next hour run, and then or I might spar, and then I'll run. Sparring's the best form of exercise, because that's how you learn. And if you're going to compete, there's no better way to get in the ring with someone. I generally believe that's how I've learnt so much.
Yeah.
It's just sparring.
You've hit the nail on the head, because my coach, I remember when I come back, when I was at university at Gym 01, he said, when are you going to come in, get some sparring in this? I was like, I'm not fit though, I'm not ready. Like, I'd been running for like maybe a month, I'd been doing body weight, but in my mind I wasn't ready for boxing. It's like, there's no way better to get ready for boxing than to just turn up and spar and get the work in. And obviously when you're in a good gym and it's controlled, and you know, you're not just going to turn up and get beaten up when you're unfit. When you've got a good coach and you can get that valuable experience, I think, the fitness from it, and like you said, the experience to grow as a fighter.
But the thing is, you could train for months and months and not spar, and then get in there and spar, not actually like it, because it's a completely different feeling. It's not the same as boxing fitness to actually compete in boxing.
Yeah. So
it's that feeling you get. Some people get in there and they'll never spar again because they don't like it. Whereas, and then you get people like me that just get adrenaline from it.
For me, it's like one of the best feelings.
It's
especially
scary.
after a fight. You've gone through all those emotions, you know, you're a bit nervous at the start, of course, you know, you go in, you give it your all. The feeling after, like, there's no better dopamine rush. Yeah, like you're buzzing for days. You're just thinking about everything.
You have that glimpse of, am I going to get back in there? And then you think, no, I'm going to go back in there.
So how many fights have you had, first of all?
So only one. So I've got 2 coming up. So one on the 8th of October and one on the 15th of October. And then from that, I'm going amateur.
Nice. And what got you into the white collar scene? Just right place, right time?
I was in an amateur club before I went white collar, but I'm 37, so you only can have till you're 40 with amateur. And I really wanted to have a bout. I didn't want to wait a whole year of training to not have a bout. I wanted to know what it felt like to get in the ring, especially coaching people. How could I ever coach someone to get in the ring if I've not done it myself? So that was mega important for me. So then this is why I've got 3 bouts, and then I'll go amateur.
When you had got in the ring, how did you change your mindset on coaching people? Did it change when you were coaching boxers?
Yeah, because I have people that get in there and spar for me now, and that they're scared. They're really scared, but they come out and they're like, that's such a good feeling. And I think because I've been through it, I'm like, it is scary. I can tell them it's the most scariest thing in the world. But once you've done it, you think, actually, it wasn't as bad as you thought. Unless when you're fighting, because you're looking around and you think, I'm on my own. There's no one there to help you out of it. You've got to get yourself out of it. But the feeling you get, you're either going to come out of that ring and not like it, or come out and actually love it.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And I'm guessing since you come out and loved it, when was that fight?
only in July,
Oh, okay, so
29th
very
of July,
recent.
so very recent.
And how did you do?
I lost my first one.
So did I. I lost my first one as well, and I learned so much from the loss.
Me too. I went up against someone that was a lot stronger. She was amazing. She was just doing basic stuff, but I didn't have the technique and I didn't spar. I'd done all the boxing classes in the world and my fitness was through the roof, but I didn't spar, and that's what I lacked. Whereas this time I've sparred twice a day, every day. And that's how I've grown. And I'm not really tied to a specific gym. I like pretty much freelance. I might go base camp. I might go to Gym 01. Heart of Portsmouth as well. I've been training recently. Obviously, I coached there, so
Yeah, it's really good. I think what you take from each gym is invaluable. Like when I was
Yeah.
in Australia, I went to probably 20 gyms overall in Sydney and Melbourne. Amazing. Every coach is different. Every fight is different. Turning up to a new gym when no one knows you as well, having that feeling, it's nice. It's nice to be in the unknown. I really feel like I can grow as a person
yeah,
when I can turn up, be confident, give it my all, have a good session, go home, and I just feel good with it. Whereas if people stay at the same gym and there's not that much going on, especially if you're an amateur,
yeah,
if you're at the gym and you're the best person in there and you've only had a few fights, yeah, it's good, you're the man of the gym or whatever, but you're never going to grow to be your full potential. So I think, yeah, it's good that obviously you've got in Portsmouth so many good gyms to go
I've
to.
had recently a female coach coaching me, Kirsty, her name is. She's been amazing since my last fight. She's taught me so much. But more recently, the last couple of weeks, I've been a bit more freelance. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going up and down the country sparring girls that I don't even know. I'm just meeting boxing coaches that are like, I've got a girl for you to spar. I'm not just put myself out there.
Brilliant.
I think the only way to learn for me is that, because there's no bigger fear than getting in there. And if you don't know them and you don't know how they're going to box you, you have to think. So you just learn from it.
Yeah, I think especially strength conditioning wise, obviously you say sparring is the best, but if I was to do resistance training, what would you recommend for strength conditioning workouts? Let's say you were to do 2 times a week some weights. What's vital for a boxer?
Definitely legs. 100% leg
Everything's from
workout.
the legs. Yeah.
So I do lots of squats, lots of putting weights on the cage and then you push it up and down.
The sled.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of what it's called. So the sled, all sorts of stuff like that. It's all conditioning your legs.
Yeah, and there's different types of squats, right? I've seen a lot of boxers lately have they sit on a certain table bit, so you don't go all the way down, but you go a bit heavier. So there's certain ways you can train certain muscles in your glutes.
So you can do, I think they're called sumo squats, so further apart, and then in, and then legs together. So legs together, up and down, then slightly apart, and then sumo, so really far apart. If you do that every single day, your legs just strengthen.
I bet your knees as well, obviously. It probably helps with running
I
too.
feel like you need knee replacements.
Yeah. What's the legs? I've never done that before. What's the legs together then? Is that?
I'll show you after.
Yeah. That's we have to get a training session.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'd love that. Before we go any further in the podcast, I would just like to thank the proud sponsors of Not Just Boxing. Not Just Boxing is proudly sponsored by Titan Boxing. Titan Boxing is a UK fast-growing boxing business. They do personalised gloves, pads, t-shirts, everything. They've got UK free shipping. Go check them out with the link on screen. Gymfluencers.com are proud sponsors of Not Just Boxing. They are the premier health and fitness website. There you can find supplement discount codes, freebies, giveaways, a macro calculator. There's all sorts on there. So go check them out at gymfluencers.com or check out their on Instagram at gymfluencers.official. And then who's your favourite boxer? Who inspired you with all of this? Is there anyone that you've ever looked at where you...
No, and boxing was never really my sport. If you'd have asked me a year ago, would I be boxing, I would have laughed at you. I generally would have laughed. Now, I don't really follow anyone. I do like the female fighters, and I love amateur because I think it's so different. It's about point scoring, right? It's like hit to not be hit. It's so different than what you see in the white collar world or what you see on the TV, you know, it's such a different sport.
Yeah, and
Amateurs, I do really, really like. I like the technique side of it. It's all skilled.
yeah, I think the technique as well. There's so many good boxers out there now. Like Katie Taylor, for me, you've probably heard of her. She's
Yeah.
like Irish champion, but she is the pride of Ireland. Her boxing technique is textbook. When you see her fight these world class fighters, she's had some really close fights because they're bigger than her. She's had to move up weights just to be tested. She's had really good wars like Amanda Serrano. That was like a super fight in its own. But yeah, Katie Taylor, when you see her box, she's pioneered a lot of women's boxing. And back in the day, Nicola Adams, she was huge. So she was boxing in the days of, you're very lucky now that you can get a call and go to a gym. It's like, I've got, you know, a couple of women here, they're your weight. She was boxing only against men. She didn't have any competition. There was nothing for her. She was laughed out of gyms by men. Like women's boxing only 10 years ago was, you know, men looked down on it a bit, like it was shame. It wasn't a thing. So these women that have gone through the adversity and shown how good they are and really brought attention to how good women boxing is, it's made people like yourself have such good experiences.
Yeah.
They've come such a long way.
See, I mostly coach females. That's what I want to get into. I think boxing is quite male dominant. I go to a boxing class, there's 35 men and I'm the only female. But the classes that I go to, they never discriminate that I'm a female. They'll all work with me. So I want to get into, I think there's a market for female boxers and there's not that many female coaches. If you look upon it in any boxing show you go to, you probably see one, two I saw last weekend out of a whole group of men coaches. So that's why I aspire to be a female boxing coach.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I agree. That's brilliant. There's a girl called Lucy at Gym 01. She runs women-only boxing classes as well, and that looks pretty good.
Yeah, we do it at Heart of Portsmouth. So Heart of Portsmouth are just about to run a female-only boxing group, which is amazing. So, and it'd be multicultural as well. So a lot of females, Muslim ladies, they can come in, they could be able to take the burqas off and stuff, because that's a thing that doesn't really happen in gyms, and it'd just be females coaching them.
Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
no men in there.
Yeah,
just for females, not even if they want to compete, you know, just some people want to come and do boxing fitness, but are scared, they're intimidated going into a gym of men. And I do understand it, even being a PT and doing boxing myself. I don't get intimidated personally because I'm quite confident, but there is people out there that are not so confident. So I think it's really important to have sessions that are going to be run like that.
Yeah, and like I did my dissertation on boxing and young offenders and just how it helps. And when I did interviews on coaches, all of them were saying that when you enter a gym, it doesn't matter what background you're from. Everyone's together, everyone's treated equally, everyone's got, like, boxing's its own language, really. Everyone's got their love for the sport, they've got respect for each other, and it really brings people together. So like you said, you know, you can have any race, ethnicity, culture, whatever it may be, gender, everyone is treated equally, and it's brilliant. I think sport in general, not just boxing, sport in general is what brings humans together the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of females, you always see it, I'd see it, they start in a boxing gym and then they just kind of go off because they feel out of place, you know, because it's not the group for females. There's a lot more up and coming females, I think, now in this day and age.
Well, we've got Ebony in Portsmouth doing bits.
Yeah, she come from my gym.
yeah.
So yeah,
she's brilliant, isn't she?
Yeah, she's amazing. And Laura Payne, I've met quite a few times. She was coached by my old coach. So yeah, it's nice to see female boxers, you know,
and role models too. You know, for the younger generation. If you are female and you're in your teens and you maybe turn to a sport or whatever, like how many women can go play football? Or like, even then, there's its own barriers. So yeah, for role models in boxing right now, especially in Portsmouth, I think we're pretty stacked with a lot of good people.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Have you heard of Shaq? She's a sports psychologist.
I've not heard of her, no.
Okay, so I might have got that wrong, but she has a master's in all psychology, but she worked on a study where women during their menstrual cycle and nutrition and how weighing in and stuff, it really affects your weight, and obviously...
So they put on generally about 1 to 2 kilos in their menstrual cycle, which if you're a male coach, not all male coaches would be aware of that. So it's quite good to have female coaches. And I think in all boxing gyms would be amazing if there was a female coach in each. I think that's what I'd like to happen one day.
Yeah, definitely. And like just sharing
It's just
the knowledge.
having a bit more understanding because it's female to female, you know. You would feel quite embarrassed going to a man. I personally would. So the fact that you can have a female coach and you can go to him and explain, I'm not feeling it today, like I'm not going to give my best performance because of my monthly menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
It'd be a little bit more easier to say to a female than a male.
Yeah, and also even just with your training, having that relationship, or for you as a coach now, I'm sure you're going to be helping. Let's say you stop competing amateur when you're 40, you're going to be helping for the next however many decades, probably.
Yeah.
All these girls come through, and for what we know right now, let's look forward another 10 years. The nutrition, the menstrual, they'll have it down to a T. That it will no longer be a disadvantage or a problem. It will probably be an advantage because there's good parts of the menstrual cycle, right? When your hormones are optimal. So you'll be able to use that to best your potential in the future. It will be more like a strength-based approach.
Absolutely.
So do you watch any boxing or not really? You're not keeping up to date
Sometimes
with
I do, if I'm home, but I do work a lot of hours. Obviously, I PT and then I work here. And then I work at Heart of Portsmouth. And then obviously I coach classes on top. Then trying to have a home life. So sometimes when I'm at home, I will just turn the telly off and just go to bed because my mind's overload. And then I'm obviously training for fights. So I have a lot going on in my life anyway.
Yeah.
But if you go on my Insta, all that's on there is boxing. My Facebook rolls are boxing. And all my friends on Facebook and my socials are mostly boxing. So yeah,
It's addictive, isn't it? It's a passion.
Always one of my friends is having a fight every weekend. So I'll always watch that. Always support all my friends if they're doing FFC and stuff like that. I'll go to that.
What's FFC?
Friends Fighting Cancer, I think it stands for.
Oh, okay.
So it's have you never heard of that?
Well, I'm getting. Is it the charity events they have then?
They have massive events, so they train for like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they raise a lot of money. So that's been happening at Bally's Boxing Gym.
Oh, okay.
They've been training all the fighters, which is really good.
It's on Rodney Road, right?
Yeah, sometimes I'll go to the sessions and help out. It's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah, because I'm guessing they get complete beginners and then they get hooked into the sport as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've spoken about it before about white collar, the goods, the bads. But the one good thing about it is
you're raising money, aren't you?
You're raising money and you're getting someone that's probably not that athletic, maybe, some of these people that maybe don't even exercise much, that maybe sit on their bum all day working, and they've got that passion for something, because not many people can go to the gym and lift weights or go on a run every day.
And also they don't know what they're doing. Some people don't go to the gym because they don't know what to do in a gym.
Yeah.
And it does get monotonous in a gym. I think with boxing there's so wide a variety of things you can do, so you generally don't get bored. I've not got bored in a year. I mean, I'm still keep training every day, but if I'm in a gym I will get bored. And you're not going to push yourself unless someone else is pushing you. Mm-hmm. Unless you're really into your training
and disciplined.
Yeah. So it's good for that people like us, but if someone's new to the industry, they're going to give up quite briefly, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got so there's an Australian company called The Punch Flow, and they've sent me a 12-week online boxing program, and they're brilliant because of how they teach boxing to England is different. They got all the fundamentals. I'm going to start it this week, even though obviously I know most of the things. To learn it as a complete beginner, I'm going to have a complete mindset, glass is empty, to have that as technique from how they teach things and why they teach how to throw certain punches, why to do. I'm excited. So once I've done with that program, I think they're releasing it to the UK audience half price. So if you want to ever check that out and you're in your own time, when you train on your own in boxing, it gets quite samey. You jump rope for a few rounds, you shadow box for a few rounds, and
I think this is why I move about in the gyms, because I've always got someone that I can go and do like pad work with, or there's quite a lot of level 2s that you can go up and do a bit of sparring. So I think when you're sparring and you're sparring different people, it's really nice. It's a good mix. Mm-hmm. Or you have friends that are boxers, you can just bounce off each other. You're just learning.
What's been your hardest spar? Has there been any gyms you've been to and you've just left and you've been like,
I think my most scariest was Heidi Holgen.
Who's that?
Heidi.
From
ABC Lee Park. Yeah, that was my most scariest because she's had so many fights and she's really reputable, and I was literally shitting myself getting in there. I was like, I can't do this, I can't do it. But I did get in there. And
how'd it go?
It went really well, actually. Heidi was there on my first fight. And the minute my fight finished, she was like, you should have had more sparring. And she was really nice to me. And she's been a massive support mechanism the whole way. Obviously, female boxers, it's not many females that I know that actually box and compete. I know lots of people that go to the gyms, but not a lot of them compete 'cause it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have that female support.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, you were scared of her at first. Now all of a
Yeah.
sudden, she's a role model for you in a sense, and she's helped
she
you.
started where I started. So when I'm feeling really crap, and I've messaged her a couple of weeks ago after my spar, I was like, I come away from it feeling awful. Come out of it, I cried, rang my mum. I was like, I hated myself. And then I spoke to Heidi, and she's like, I've been there myself, you know. I used to come out of the gym crying and be like, that's the worst spar I've ever done. But then as time goes on, you just, where I've come from in a year, well, like this year, to now is so different. You just learn every day, don't you? You just
There's
pick up.
so many levels. And what I don't like, a lot of people online, I've had some collaborator posts with some really good pros, and they get so much stick online by people because they've had like one loss or whatever. People don't understand. There's so many levels, so many
There's
from
one winner and one loser in the ring.
Yeah.
And when you're in there, it is so lonely because you've got someone coming at you. It's not like sparring because they're hitting you. They're actually hitting you to hurt. And you're looking around and you actually, it's like a blinker. You just got punches coming at you. So as people can judge until they've got in there and experienced it for themselves, I think that's when they would change their opinion.
Yeah, that's where they lack respect.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're most of the viewers that you get, you know. So out of everyone watching Not Just Boxing, I'd say, you know, maybe 10, 20% have probably been in the ring. Everyone else, they might have really good understanding, but they don't really know what it's like to
I
face
agree.
someone, because it is you against you at the end of the day, without being cliche. You're only battling yourself. The whole entire lead up to the fight, you're trying to be the best version of yourself. When you get in there, you're battling your own nerves. Even when you're fighting the person, you're just trying to be the best version of yourself on the night. You're not trying to really beat them. Of course you are, but it's all about you trying to put on the best performance for yourself. So in that sense, it's so good for self-growth that any combat sport, that mentally, physically, you're going to really overcome so many barriers that if anyone's ever just been punched in the head and, you know, maybe been hurt.
Well, street fighting is so different to getting in the ring. I mean, it's more controlled for one. If you've got someone there, they'll stop it at any point. I think it's a better way. I don't see boxing, for me personally, as not aggression. So I was with an amateur PT that used to coach me, and he said it's not an aggressive sport, and I've lived by that since. For me, I use that as a way of releasing negative energy, not for aggression. So if I'm having a really negative mindset day, I'll go and hit the bags. Some people use it for a different way, but that's not my way. So I struggle with getting in the ring and being aggressive to win, which is why I like amateurs, because it's point scoring.
Yeah.
You're not in there to be aggressive. It's a different kind of feel, whereas white collar, it's a bit more wild and raw. You're a bit more like, they're at you, and there's no real technique.
Yeah.
So that's the good and bad points of white collar.
Well, I've even had my coach had a go at me in Sweden because I kept touching my opponent's glove during the fight. I was too respectful. And one thing that I looked back on after was like, I'm never doing that again. I can't, because at the end of the day, if it's me or him winning and I want to win.
Yeah.
So even though I'm not aggressive, that the respect that I had for opponents in previous fights, I can't bring.
Yeah.
The more respect you have for them, the worse it'll be for you. And like you said, point scoring's good. You're not looking to knock them out. I'm sure you're looking to just outbox them and win. But for myself, I had way too much respect in the past. And even in sparring, if you know someone's good, already in your mind you're losing because you're not backing yourself in this circumstances. When I've gone against some good guys in Sydney, I just had a completely different mindset of give it my all, again, me versus me, and I've had some of the best spars I've ever had in my life. And focusing more on yourself and backing yourself is the main thing. And like you said as well, any training that you do.
It depends what kind of person you are, doesn't it? Because it takes me a little while to get into it. So you only get 3 rounds, and it takes me 2 rounds of sparring to get warmed up, which is ridiculous. But when I get in there, I am one of those that for some reason, when they hit me is when I retaliate, which is, I don't know if all boxers are like that. You just get used to it after a while that you actually have to be the first person to go forward.
Yeah.
So I'm learning each and every time, you know.
Yeah, and that's so true. Like you can have a light spar with someone, it's 50%, but as soon as they land a good shot on you,
You're
your
going for
instinct,
it.
yeah, but like even though mentally you're expecting them, it's 50, like instantly you're back. Like it's just
You're
the
back in
natural,
the room.
yeah, it's the natural fight in you that it just escalates.
Fight or flight. And
It is. I remember a great guy, Malik, that I used to spar with and just train with. Really nice guy. Coach would say technical session or sparring. Lovely, lovely lad, right? I've got to say that before I say this, but he'll go into the spar and straight away he's got this screw face and he's coming at me with like wild swings and like, when he lands a big right hand on you, you think, right, that's it. You're getting it.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're having a tear up on a mat, not even in a ring. And like this guy, but one thing I liked about him, even though it's not good for longevity because you're taking a lot of damage, he brought out the side of me where I had to be switched on. All of a sudden, I need to have my defense some point. If I'm not sipping that punch, it's going to hurt. So having someone like that in the gym, it was really good for me to grow at that time because when it comes to the fight and I've got someone doing the same thing, oh, Malik does that in a tech session. It's sound.
I'm the same. I sparred with someone the other day that's completely brand new, and she come at me a hell of a lot, and it kept me on my toes. But the first round, I thought, okay, we're just like, I didn't want her to go light. She'd never been hit. And then on the second round, I just thought, right, that's it. I'm retaliating now because I'm not going to keep getting hit. But it's good. It's a good learning because they are wild. They're a bit more forward when they're new. And I like that because it does teach you to like slip and duck a bit more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's good. It's good for sparring.
And you get punished too, any little
Yeah.
sloppy things that if you get, like I said earlier, if you're in the same gym doing the same things and nothing's changing, then you do get complacent. You start throwing sloppy jabs. As soon as you go against someone, they're going to punish you for that. So if you're constantly being kept on your toes by people like that, they're valuable in the gym. But then also you shouldn't have it all the time.
Yeah.
I think
I'll try and mix it up. So
Yeah.
if we're doing tech work, I'll always go with someone else every week.
Yeah.
I won't go with the same person because you get used to them. The same as if I was to coach a female to get in the ring for me, I wouldn't let them spar me every time. I'll be taking them all over so they spar other people because they're just going to get comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't do that to myself. I will spar other people because you just get way too comfortable, and that's not good for learning and growing. Personally, I don't think it is. I think the more people you spar, the different techniques you'll learn from everybody else.
Yeah, and especially when you are a novice, I think it is very good early on to not be punished. If someone has their first sparring session and they get beat bad, that's not good on the coach's behalf. If you've got people that can really have a pathway for them in the right direction, that they're learning step by step, they're not chucked in the deep end. That's so important because it will affect your confidence too. If you
Absolutely do. It should be the same ability sparring.
Yeah.
I think that. So one of my clients sparred someone the other day, and it was the same weight, same ability, and I think that's really important, like to keep it. And you wouldn't want to put her in there with someone that's had 15 fights previous, because the one who's had 15 fights is going to be much better in sparring and just going to take advantage. You want them to learn from each other. So
yeah, but also if that person with 15 fights understands and they can go at a certain pace and level, like I used to box John sometimes, just sparring. He was at the Commonwealth Games. He would always go at your level. If I hit him with a shot, he'd hit me with two. Make sure that it's always so he always kept it under control, and he would always go to the coach and say what I'm doing right and wrong. He would do it with everyone. He was a great asset to Gemma 1. But what was I going to say? Yeah, when I was in Sydney and I ended up sparring this guy that was a street fighter, the weirdest thing was, even though I was comfortable that I box, I had no idea about him. He had 20 kilos on me. And all I was thinking was, because he doesn't really know how to box, it's actually probably worse. Because when I box a trained fighter, if someone's had 10, 15 fights, I know their rhythm, what they're going to do. Like it's very controlled and you've got like a dance going on.
Yeah.
When you've got a completely raw, not like, someone that don't really know how to throw a punch correctly, coming from every angle, that was quite a good experience for me because I had no idea.
It teaches you to keep your guard up for sure, because you know that they're going to land at some point, because you don't know whether they're going to come with a straight or with a hook.
He doesn't know if it's coming as a straight or a hook. Yeah, seriously, like it was mad because he only caught me with one shot in the 3 rounds. But when he caught me, I felt it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not happening again. I remember I finished some kind of exchange. I wasn't loading up on anything because he was a friend, but he wanted to fight me for whatever reason, egos or whatever. But I think it was like second or third round, when he hit me with it, I was just like, right, I'm definitely not going to give him any opportunities, because
Yeah.
I got a little bit cocky for a minute where it's going too well for me.
Yeah.
I just got a bit too cocky, and yeah,
It's good. It's absolutely brilliant to fight someone who's never really had any fights, because they are wild. And I think there's times that we get to spar people that are really well skilled, and then other times you get to spar people that are not. And I actually learn more from the ones that are not, because I don't know where they're going to go.
they don't.
And they actually keep me on my toes, because they're going to be forward, because they're greedy, and they're like
They're
the
raw.
hunger for
They're
it, you
raw,
know?
yeah.
They're going to come straight at you, but it actually works in your favour, because after the second round, they're gassed. So you just let them tie themselves out.
Yeah, until you find that one machine. Like, I've seen some
Yeah.
women fights, and there's some monsters out there where they just keep coming forward. Even if they're taking shots, they walk you down. And
Yeah.
to be honest, some of the best fights I've seen in the amateurs have just been women fights, and they've been all-out wars. You've got tall girls just throwing straight punches continuously. You've got the short girls rolling
Yeah.
under, just throwing. Like, I love the styles, and the problem in professional boxing, or it depends how you look at it, women's pro boxing is still 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
So it's more amateur in the sense of you have to get more in that time. So you don't have, in men's 3 minutes, you have a lot more time to think in the pros, and you can sort of have breaks. Whereas in the women, like, you know what you're going to get here. It's all out action. They've got
Yeah.
2 minutes. Like Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall got cancelled because of the Queen, rest in peace. But all of that was going on. And before going into that fight, we were looking at another super fight, because Clarissa Shields, American combination puncher, bullies opponents against a Brit that has heavy hands, knockout power, and the Brit beat the American, I'm pretty sure, in the amateurs. I think it was Clarissa's only ever loss.
Yeah.
So going into that, it was like there was loads of good politics behind, and the styles of them two really would make a good fight. But yeah, I seriously think the way women's boxing's going, you're going to have, well, it was going to be an all-women event, you know, it won't
Yeah.
be long until once a month you've got all-women boxing shows sold out, big stadiums, even football, the Euros, they
People
sold out.
ask me, they're like, "Are you going to go pro?" I'm like, "No," but then I also said I would never get in the ring. So you never know where your life's going to take you. But I can't see that being my path. You know, I'm really happy being a coach. Happy that I get to be a boxing coach, and influence the really, really young generation, because kids is what I live for. I work with kids. It's my passion. So it's good to influence onto them. They're our next generation, aren't they?
Yeah, and do you find coaching, especially in boxing, helps you become better at the sport yourself? I found when I was coaching boxing, my own fundamentals and skills that I was drilling every day with people were getting so much
You lead
better.
by example.
Yeah, exactly. The more you're drilling it and slowing it down, even though you're explaining it to someone, all of a sudden you're actually explaining it to yourself over and over again. And
because when you're doing it and you're coaching it, you're actually thinking in your head, no, that's not right. Coach it properly. Because if you obviously don't want to give them the incorrect movements to do. So yeah, I do get that. I think it's correct. If you're coaching it, it does make you better. Like, it makes you feel better in how your movement is.
yeah, I'd actually recommend to any boxers that wanted to progress to take on some clients and then go over it yourself, because the fundamentals win fights. You see world
Yeah.
champions that are just very good at the basics, and they're just, as soon as you mastered the it's even, I was listening to a high performance podcast in basketball. I'm terrible with basketball players, but one of the best ever, I'm gonna get his name wrong. He drilled basics every day, the fundamentals, but he was so good at that he was able to do all of the fancy stuff in the game because he knew how to do everything else. So like,
Yeah.
there's so many people that want to learn how to throw all these, big punches like haymakers where you step in. There's a time and place for that, but you won't learn that in boxing, ideally, for a good year or two.
I think it's only then that you'll actually see how good of a boxer you are, when you're coaching somebody else. Because if you can coach somebody else in the same movements you're doing and you're watching them and you're thinking, actually, they're really good, then you know that what you're doing is correct. That's my philosophy on it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I've seen some people that I've coached, no boxing experience, and by the end of it, they could be ready for a fight. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
You look good here. Like, you know, if you've got the mentality here, if you want to fight, especially when I was in Sydney, some of these people I was training, they were brilliant. They were, and the standard out there, without me mocking Australian boxing, it's not as good as the standard in England. So these guys could have walked into any gym, trained at a club for a few months, took on an amateur fight, and they would have won. My mate Hayden, he's 6'5". He's never boxed in his life. He's just done football. After 3 months with me of just training 5 days a week, he was brilliant. Like, I've never seen that much progress so quickly. Like, he was like a sponge, soaking it all up. And yeah, that definitely benefited me a lot too.
It does. It gives you that a bit more confidence in yourself that what you're teaching is correct and your ability to be a good boxer.
My biggest problem is me being southpaw. No one, everyone can't pad southpaws unless obviously you go to an actual good coach or gym.
Unless you find someone that boxes that goes southpaw and orthodox, which I've seen recently in a couple of the amateur clubs. They go both ways.
Yeah, switch hitters.
Yeah,
It's
which I
impressive.
think is absolute crazy.
Yeah, there's a girl called Danica. She boxes at Gym 01. You might have seen her. Under James Connor, she's got to be like, I don't know, 20 now maybe.
I don't think I have seen her, no.
Okay, but she's really good. She got robbed in the Golden Girls in Sweden, and she's really talented. Yeah, the way she can. Well, I've not seen her in years, but on the videos, the way her footwork is, the movements, she can step into punches, switch hit, like it just flows so naturally. And yeah, it's becoming a thing. You know, like. Do you watch MMA much or not really?
No, I did think at one point I might have got into that, but I don't think it's something for me, you know. I like boxing. That keeps me very disciplined in my life. I don't know what I'm going to do after October because I've not actually got any belts coming up. So boxing, knowing you've got fights, keeps you mega, mega disciplined. So we'll see.
Maybe get carded at an amateur gym straight after.
That is my plan anyway.
What would be your gym?
Heart of Portsmouth.
Nice, yeah. So get signed for Heart Portsmouth, and you could be in an amateur fight November.
Well, they got a show in January, so
Brilliant.
be good to be a part of the show, and then obviously I coach there too, so it'd be good.
Hopefully, I'll be part of the show too. Just got
that'd
back
be good.
Yeah, just got back from the hip.
Fighting alongside each other.
Yeah, it'll be good. And then we'll probably get Radu as well to see if he wants to do some filming ringside. But yeah, no, I'm very excited.
It'd be really good.
Well, Gemma, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
That's all right. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, thank you.